New episode of the podcast. It is Darnay Tripp today. Long episode today. Long episode. Last 2 days, the short ones, just me. Today, long episode. Darnay and I got to talking, and it just we probably could have talked for another hour and a half, just catching up. You're gonna get to the catch up episode between Darnay and me. We talk some about the outdoor hoops league that Spokane is starting up. We talk some soup versus cereal. Soup and cereal. Are they brothers? Are they enemies? Are they what are they? Are they just soup and cereal? We'll get into soup and cereal. That's coming up on the pod today. And Darnay asked a really good Ted Lasso question. So without further ado, I will let you know, end of the pod, if you want to hear some thoughts. My brain's going a million miles per hour today. I think Darnay is about 40-some minutes. You can always look in the description on iTunes, on Spotify. You can always look in the description for the timestamps on when things are talked about. And also, you can now look to see, I think I'm just going to label the end of today's podcast. My mind's going a million miles per hour, and you can just hear the randomness that's floating around in there today. But without further ado, let's do it. Darnay Tripp. Going to talk to one of my favorite human beings on the podcast today. I'm so excited. The man who just, he lives getting the retweets I wish I had. Darnay Tripp. What's going on, dude?
Not too much. Yourself?
I'm good. I miss seeing your face. I saw you on Rob and Jack's podcast, and I was like, I miss Tripp. You've been gone to San Diego for 3 years?
Yeah, it's a little over 2 years. And yeah, that was fun connecting and doing that podcast. That started up, in the last 6 months or so?
Yeah.
And it's a good pod for the Gonzaga folks out there. And so I was honored that they asked me to be on, and always fun to connect with some Spokane folks and talk about donut shops and lakes and, a little bit of Gonzaga stuff as well.
Tripp, you'll be proud of us. Anna is throwing a Valentine's Day party for the neighborhood this weekend. Like a little get together. It's going to be cold. That's our one concern is it's going to be cold. But she wants to do like a walk through, come by and get some brunch. And I'm picking up Donut Parade for the donuts.
Nice.
So we're repping one of your old stomping grounds. What, Donuts Parades and Mike's Old Fashioned Donuts.
Mike's Old Fashioned Donuts at the gas station in the Valley off Wallen. Was it Dishman Micah, somewhere thereabouts?
Yeah.
It's a good one.
On maybe Argonne. I don't remember exactly where it is. Yeah, you nailed it. But
I always get lost. Whenever I drove there, and I would end up catching the 90 at a different spot. I would get kind of turned around, and I'd be like, I should probably turn on Sprague. That seems like a street I should turn on. And then you eventually run into the 90 somewhere. But I don't know if I ever went back to Brown's using the same route twice. No, if that makes sense.
No, because you'd either take the freeway. Yeah, you can get on the freeway 4 different ways from that location. We went one time. We went with Monica and Barrett, you and me, and remember they were out of donuts.
Yes.
We went late because which is crazy to me that you're a donut guy, considering you don't get moving until noon.
Well, I always had to plan for that. It's like playing golf. You got to get up early and get to the course and do all that stuff. I mean, usually you try and get off, before 9 or 10 a.m. And it's I have to plan my day around donuts because they get sold out quickly. And if you want something good, the case is going to be pretty bare. You're just going to have kind of the plain old fashioned donuts or a sprinkle cake donut with strawberry frosting, which not my favorite thing.
Right.
So you really have to kind of plan accordingly if you want to hit those spots and get the goods.
Your favorite donut then is what? What's the one that would go first if Darnay Tripp's going to the donut shop? You're going to Mike's Old Fashions, you're going to Donut Parade. What are you snagging?
Well, a maple bar up there, definitely a maple bar. I feel like we have a donut shop in San Diego that we go to, and the maple bar is good, but it just feels like a Northwest thing. Maybe I hadn't had a maple bar until I went to Spokane and Seattle and these places. And it just seems like when you go to a donut shop in Spokane, that's the first thing you look for. And if you can get them fresh, they're just on another level. So the maple and the glaze, those two things, it's they're simple, but they're perfect every time.
I love it. Okay. Ooh, the glaze. I'm a big glaze guy. I'm not an old-fashioned guy. The old-fashioned ones.
You're not a breakfast guy, which is
I'm
weird.
not a breakfast guy, Tripp. I'm not a breakfast guy. I only went to this donut place because I liked hanging out with you and Barrett. And I remember getting there and seeing the disappointment in everyone's faces. I was not as disappointed. I just wanted to see you guys. But the disappointment when we got to Mike's Old Fashioned Donuts after you had talked it up and there was nothing left because they had been picked through because it's a popular donut spot. And then Barrett probably complained.
Didn't we want to go to Cottage Cafe too? I remember us running
Yes.
around a lot that day.
Yes, that place is great as well.
Yeah.
We just reminisce over your time here in Spokane. But yeah, you've been gone 2 years. There's a lot that has happened since you've been gone, including our basketball court getting resurfaced. It now looks terribly trashy. It did not set well. Tripp, the backboards are great. I was going to text you a picture the other day. Peaceful Valley, the dirt and everything that collects on that court, you couldn't tell because we played on asphalt. They've made a nice flat surface, but the paint on it, all of the dirt and water that drips off the bridge and everything has just pooled up and created these gigantic dirt circles everywhere on the court that kind of bummed me out a little bit. It looks like we're under the bridge, but under I-90 instead of the magical under the bridge of the Maple Street Bridge, which was a lot cleaner looking. We now look like we are homeless basketball players.
Well, there's so much to see when you're in Peaceful Valley, right?
Yeah.
Like the homes, the bridge, the greenery, the river, the animals that are spray painted. It's like you don't need like a painting on the court. It's just too much.
Too much. I'm glad they resurfaced it, Tripp. I'm glad they resurfaced it after playing on the resurfaced court. I don't think you and I both realized how slippery and how many cracks were in the old Peaceful court. Like this resurface was nice.
Well, especially when it rained anywhere within like 96 hours of us playing. Because there'd be like specific corners where you'd be playing defense and you'd see somebody get the ball in that corner. You'd be like, be careful. Hold on. You
Everyone's
know what I mean?
calling timeout. Everyone's calling timeout. They're like, no, stop. Everyone stop. You're about to blow out a knee.
But it just didn't need to be beautified in the way that they felt like it should.
Yeah.
And it was perfect just the way it was. Like you said, if they wanted to resurface it and make it a little bit less slick, I think that would be great. Maybe a new backboard, that sort of thing. But to add like a painting on the court when you're already in this like, magical wonderland that is Peaceful Valley, it's just overkill.
Did you see what Hoop Fest is doing? I know you're a million miles away. I know you still have your fingers though on the pulse of Spokane a little bit. Outdoor basketball league.
Is it unfair for us to take credit for that?
Thank you for saying it. I know I don't want to sit here and be like, we are the champions of outdoor basketball in Spokane, but we kind of are the champions for outdoor basketball in Spokane, Tripp.
Well, who else? So you would know better than I would, because that was really the only place I played outside was Peaceful Valley. I mean, there was only like 1 or 2 games that I played in consistently, and it was like playing in Hoop Fest here and there, Peaceful Valley, and then can we say the high school? Or is that
we can say the high school.
We can't say the high school?
Yeah, we can.
Okay, so the Freeman games.
The Freeman run is a good run. The Freeman run.
We won't say when they were.
No, Sunday nights. Chad, get that open again. Come on.
Should we pass along his number while we're at it?
Mm-hmm. I'll put that in. I'll put that in the details in the description.
But you've played more around town. I mean, obviously growing up there than I have.
Yeah.
I know what's the Comstock. Like I know people played at Comstock.
See, but people just had a random run at Comstock, right? So you could go there the same time every week, and it wouldn't be like we had the run every Tuesday, Thursday at Peaceful. You knew what time it was going to be at. It always happened. Comstock was floating. Shan Furch, I don't know if you know that name. He teaches at Gonzaga, played at Pepperdine. He's one of the legendary hoopers in town. He and Mark Axton have a run at Roni Turioff's court in Corbin Park, but it's kind of an exclusive run. Like David Stockton plays in that run, right? Yeah. So it's guys who are next level basketball players. It's a great run, but it's not really one that is like Peaceful was, where it was more welcoming run, because we had everything from John and Devin to the guys who have played, like Marcus, who played collegiately, Mike Stephenson, who played collegiately, I believe. Did he play collegiately?
I don't know if he played collegiately.
Oh, so never mind, just Marcus. So and Josh Heifeld. So
yeah, and you were always super welcoming, Sean.
Look, that wasn't my job. It was your guys' job to welcome in the outsiders, and then it was my job to let them know we pass. That which you didn't do a good job helping with that. But
Not always.
my job was to help make sure that we knew that if you came to play at Peaceful, we played weirdly team basketball.
It was, but there was, we kind of reached that slippery slope where it was getting too popular there.
It was.
It started with the Media League, I want to say in 2016, because we were getting ready for Hoop Fest. We were trying to bring back the Hoop Fest Media League. It didn't really happen, but we all wanted to play. And there was a big group of us that worked in town that wanted a game. And so that's kind of how it all started. And it was probably only like 8 or 10 of us.
Yeah.
And then just the bodies emerged from like the river and the trees and the homes and the stalls and the handball court, surrounding the area. And it grew. And like that first year, I remember being pretty good. Like it was a little bit weird, there were some people that showed up that we kind of thinned out some of the Peaceful Valley numbers. And then like Marcus Mike, like you said, a few others became regulars, and that was great. And so we kind of had this good group of guys, and then that carried over to the next year, and it was pretty solid. And you have some people show up here and there. I felt like the last summer is when like Peaceful Valley started showing up on like Facebook groups and message boards, and word got out there. And I even messaged somebody. I was like, hey, love that you're showing up, great to have you, but like let's try and keep it together. Because I did play at the Move Now up on the South Hill. And some of those folks started to trickle down, and they were kind of in that group that would just show up anywhere to play. And some of them became regulars, and they were great. But I knew that there was kind of a segment of that population that like I wasn't really into like having us join. And the fact of the matter is, like, if you have more than 15 people, it just kind of gets to be a pain because you're waiting too long.
Yeah, and especially if you're losing, like that's a long time. When you're winning, it was just great because I just got to keep playing. But then I'd have to look over and watch you sitting for like an hour, and I felt bad about that. That sucked. Anyways, it was great. Hoop Fest Outdoor League, though, I'm just worried that they're going to start playing at Peaceful, and like, what if they play during? Are they going to come down and kick us off the court to play an outdoor basketball league? Because I'm going to tell them you play for the court. Come on down. If you want to play your league games, one of your league teams needs to beat us, and then you can get on the court.
That's actually a really good idea. I mean, how many outdoor courts are there around Spokane? What if each team had an outdoor court and that was their home court? And so it was a traveling league. And so you have, there's got to be at least a dozen around town, right? And if you extend to Coeur d'Alene, if you extend to Airway Heights and Cheney, up north, South Hill, yada, yada, then, I mean, how many different home courts can you have? And so if if we're the Peaceful Valley team and we have to play out in Coeur d'Alene, by the lake, there's going to be, the court's a little bit bigger. You got the breeze coming off the lake. And so there's all these different elements. We know about the tree that hangs off the one corner. And so you don't really want to shoot 3-pointers from there. And then the slick spots. So, I mean, that would be kind of cool if they turned it into something like that, where you do have a true home court advantage and you can feel like, okay, Peaceful Valley is still my court.
Okay. Darnay's in San Diego. I'm in Spokane, but he and I are now starting a rival. This is just in. Our league is going to, registration for our league is going to be February 19th. And our league is going to start one day before the Hooptown one. So we're actually starting March 12th. And
Perfect.
we're going to give home courts to teams. Okay, that was supposed to be a quick hoop segment, and we talked forever about it, but I wanted to ask you the number one thing, because you and I started talking on Twitter after I spoke with Ryan last week about something you're very passionate about, because you are the food guy in my life. You're the food guy. I think you have decent.
I'll take it.
I think you have decent street cred, and you have good credibility with any kind of stuff from the kitchen. Wouldn't you agree with that?
Yeah. I mean, I think other people that are skilled in the kitchen and know their way around food, like if they heard you say it, they'd probably be like, yeah, Darnay's all right, But I think it's never, if we're being fair, never kind of been your strike, hasn't been something that you're super interested in. No. I mean, you're just as happy as eating Zips and Taco Bell as
one of your fancy places. Going
to
sweet
Park Lodge or
that sweet Durkin's burger that you love. Like,
so good. I love
that was a great burger to me, but I also could get down with, like you said, I can get down with the Zips Wrangler. and be happy.
You, I, I subscribe to the Sean Whitmer podcast.
Yes, thank you.
If there is an option where I only subscribe to the episodes with Ryan Ferguson, I might take that.
I agree. I agree. He's money, dude's money.
Because I tweet at you guys every single time I listen, because you always say something that connects with me in some way, shape, or form, or a shared experience.
Yeah.
And when you guys were having that conversation about burgers and burgers to go, that really hit home, especially now during the pandemic where everything is to go.
Yeah.
And Durkin's was our spot. My wife and I, whenever she visited, we would go. She loved it. Whenever we go back to Spokane, we'll go to Durkin's. So we were like, okay, we got to find our burger in San Diego. And we found one, and it's in the neighborhood, and it's really good. And that conversation, there's been a couple times where like, it's always good, but a couple times where it's like, it's not reaching its full potential because it's been in the to-go box for who knows how long, and didn't get to it right away when we got home. And it made me realize this burger that we love, we've never experienced it at its full potential because we've only been getting it since like June.
That's so
And
weird.
So now I'm really excited for when that day comes. I don't know about you guys, we're not the first to like rush to a restaurant and eat inside when they open up. And so things are relaxing a little bit more in San Diego, but we're still kind of not at that place yet. But when we get there, I'm looking forward to sitting down and getting it straight from the kitchen onto my plate and really having the full experience.
Oh, that'll be cool. What? Okay, and you love the Durkin's one. Is this the burger in San Diego similar to the Durkin's burger? Is that kind of what the deal is, or is it just
not entirely? They're both like, there's not a whole lot going on. They're both pretty simple, but just really, really good. So they're not identical. And if I had to choose, I'd say the Durkin's burger is probably still better.
Well, I also don't think, and I mean, you can correct me when I'm wrong, the San Diego world, I can't imagine San Diego is a big burger place as opposed to a lot of other foods that I think San Diego would rather say, look, we're not going to put our flag in burger world. We would rather be, a lot of, I had a great burrito experience in San Diego. And I imagine there's some seafood life down there as well.
Definitely. Yeah. When you guys come to visit, maybe you want to hit In-N-Out. Although I don't think you like In-N-Out, right?
It didn't rock my world.
It's
didn't
fine.
rock my world.
It's fine.
Yeah. Here's the deal. I would go there because I like being able to text Barrett and say I went to In-N-Out and make him mad. That's the reason I would go.
So yeah, when you come down to San Diego, unless you're from here, and there's a place called Hodad's, which is really popular in town. Like maybe out of nostalgia, you go there and they have good burgers. But you're right, you want to get tacos, you want to get burritos, maybe some seafood, that sort of thing. But there are a handful of good spots that we've tried to discover.
So you have the food credentials, and the thing is, your food. That's the thing I really appreciate about you. You understand the food. I'm going to give your parents credit for this because I feel like your dad is a food guy. I feel like your mom is a food girl.
My mom is definitely a food guy.
She's a fan of a food guy. Your mom's a food gal. They like their food. Like they know their stuff. And
yeah,
so
definitely.
I think you grew up around it enough to when we bring this up, you have a background with the one I don't have as much of a background with, because you sent a message to Ryan and I that said, "Is cereal soup?" And I was like, "Is cereal soup? I don't know, because I don't know enough about soup. I know a lot about cereal, but I'm imagining you know a lot about soup." So Darnay, Tripp, I ask you, is cereal a soup?
I don't know that much about soup, other than I enjoy it on occasion. To me, it struck me as a similar argument to, is a hot dog a sandwich?
I fall on it is not. I fall on it is not. Where do you fall on the hot dog?
I think I'm with you. I kind of understand people who say it is, but in my mind, it's a totally separate thing.
Yes.
So I don't put a hot dog in the sandwich category. But it made me think, like, is cereal a soup? I mean, they're basically, you're in a bowl.
Yeah.
It's liquid.
Yeah.
Base liquid and stuff floating around the liquid, and you eat it with a spoon.
Darnay, when you said it, I had never thought about it, and I saw your tweet, and I thought, okay, well, no, I want to be mad at Darnay about it. Like, I want to argue, but it really is that. It's just a cold soup.
And gazpacho is a cold soup. So,
okay.
And that's a form of soup. So, there is precedent there. The base is milk. Didn't you just mention like a coconut? I think in that podcast you mentioned Anna was eating like a soup with coconut milk or something,
You're,
right?
I had it this very day while I was waiting to come up here and record with you last night. Yesterday, my wife made it again. It's called Zappa Toscana or something like that.
Wow.
Okay. And she's been making it in a crock pot. You crock pot it all day. It's got coconut oil as a base, or coconut milk as a base, potatoes, kale, like a bunch of stuff in it, a sausage. It's amazing. And it's 1 degree here in Spokane. So a soup is really tasty right now. And
Yeah.
I love it. So today I had both. I have been staying away from cereal because it doesn't sit well with me if I do a lot of milk. But I thought for the sake of the podcast, I did cereal for breakfast and soup for lunch. So I went through all the bowls in the house. I've used all of our spoons. And I'm also just going to have just the worst time going to the bathroom later. But I'm just all liquid right now in my body. And I gotta
What's
say,
for dinner?
Tripp,
What's for dinner? I will like what liquid based
pizza,
meal
pizza,
is for dinner.
pizza. Maybe I'll do like a pizza soup, but it is
No,
pizza.
no.
It
There
is
we go.
Wednesday night's pizza night. So I'm going to try to solidify things. I'll get extra cheese to really try to
Perfect.
just solidify everything inside of me.
Where do you guys get your pizza from?
So I think, I'm a big Pac Ave fan because
Yeah.
I'm in on supporting the Browns edition world. I'm in on supporting them. So I might do them tonight, but there's also a good chance that I do a Papa Murphy's classic take and bake style. We'll
Papa
see.
Murphy's is good.
It's so good. And I have to go pick up my daughter, so it's kind of on the way. I love supporting the local business. I love supporting Pac Ave. It's a place you and I have had a lot of fun and a lot of memories at. So it's a place I don't want to see ever disappear.
Do you know? I'm sure I've told you this, but maybe the best pizza experience that I've ever had that's associated with Sean Widmer was at your bachelor party.
Really? Really?
No, you wouldn't remember. You wouldn't remember this.
I remember.
And you weren't around for it. You weren't around for it either. It was me, Barrett, and Kenny.
What happened?
So, we were out in Sandpoint.
Okay.
And we were at some bar. I think our the second of the night. But I mean, by the time we packed into the cars, I mean, the things were pretty far along.
Yeah. Yeah, they were.
Especially for you.
I'd already chipped my tooth trying to jump over a barricade. You were one of the few that got to witness that. There was like 5 people who got to witness me try to jump over a barricade. You were one of them and just saw me faceplant, chip my tooth. Wonderful.
So we had settled into this place and it had been a while since we'd eaten. I was starving.
Yeah.
And so I looked up my phone, like what the options were. And there was a Domino's in Sandpoint that was going to close like within that hour. And so I asked Barrett and he was game. Kenny, I think, was ready, wanted to go for a walk. And so put in the order, go get the Domino's. This was seriously a top 5, top 10 pizza experience in my life.
What?
I cannot put words to how good the Domino's was that night. And Domino's is fine. Like I'm cool with Domino's.
Yeah.
Never been like enamored by it. This was an incredible pizza.
What in the world? That's crazy. If I had a piece, I'm sure I agree. I'm sure it might have saved my life if I had a piece of that pizza. And it also doesn't surprise me that of the guys at the bachelor party, if I had to pick 3 guys from the bachelor party who were ready to get out of the bar and go get pizza, I would have gone 3 for 3 on Darnay, Barrett, and Kenny. That is true to form and also so mature of you guys. So thank you for
that was a super fun day and night. And but look, every so often you need a breather, right?
You have to have one. Okay, so real quickly, let me kind of close the book on the cereal and soup thing. Soup cannot be cereal. We know that, right?
Soup cannot be right, because I think the rules of cereal are more clear. I mean, it's milk, a form of milk, and usually grainy, sugary, maybe there's some fruit kind of substance in there. So I think this is kind of a one-way thing. I did do some light research for this conversation.
Okay.
And I'm kind of wishing I had it because it has altered my view on it.
Okay, dang
and
it.
So I looked up the Wikipedia pages for soup and cereal just to give you like the baseline raw definition of what each is. And where the The disappointment lies is soup specifies that it's some sort of like vegetable stock, chicken stock base
Okay.
with meat and vegetables. Now, all these things are open to interpretation, but once I saw that, I mean, we're not putting beef stock on our Lucky
Right.
Charms.
And I'm trying to think, I'm not going to try it either. As much as I would love to say, well, I'll try it and prove it wrong. That doesn't sound right. But like a tomato soup seems pretty basic, right? A tomato soup does it have all the things you just mentioned? Probably it has something in there. The tomato. I'm just
It
trying to think
probably
of
has like a vegetable stock though
that's
that
what it is.
build,
Yeah.
yeah.
So
So
I'm trying to think. I'm trying to think of a soup that I love that doesn't have the things you mentioned, and I'm really struggling. So here's the deal. I would like cereal to fall into the soup category where at some point in my life, I want to go to Soulful Soups and them have the option of Fruity Pebbles, right? And so it's just like, here is an amazing tomato bisque or whatever that one's called. Here's minestrone, here's clam chowder, here's Fruity Pebbles, and here's chicken noodle. And you're like, what just happened? And it's Soulful Soups and cereal.
I
That's
mean,
what I want.
how different would like SpaghettiOs be from tomato soup with Cheerios?
Okay. Okay. So now we're
Probably not
saying
all that different.
SpaghettiOs is to SpaghettiOs is the soup version of Cheerios.
Cheerios.
Okay. Okay. Well, that's now I'm in on that. Like that's you have alphabets and then you have alphabet soup. So those ones would go tit for tat. I like this. Okay.
And maybe that would get you on board with breakfast too, because suddenly a breakfast would be more lunchy because you don't typically like breakfast foods, and so maybe that gets a little bit closer to your sweet spot.
I actually love that. The one other thing I was struggling with, Tripp, is I don't know about you when it comes to a soup. I love having some kind of bread to dip in it. I just think that's the
Mm.
best. So they're normally some kind of fancy bread that I don't understand, and I'm probably supposed to be more enamored with the bread than I am. The person who hands it to me with their eyes longingly looking for me to say, "What an amazing piece of bread you have!" But I've already shoved it into my mouth, and I'm like,
Mm.
"Oh, great, do you have more?" And they're like, "It took us 3 days to make that one piece." But I can't see myself dipping anything into a cereal and enjoying it like a piece of bread.
You could do it with a donut.
Well, now we've come full circle. Literally a circle. We've come full circle. And because I do think you could do that. I think you could dip a donut. Yeah, man. You could dip a donut into it. Milk is a good dipping agent. We've learned that with Oreos. So
I
it's
wonder
not.
if somebody's had to have done that, is had a bowl of cereal and a donut, and they're just dipping the donut in the bowl of cereal. I've never thought about that in my entire life.
Well, I will do it now this weekend. If I when I go get donut parade Sunday morning, I will have a bowl of cereal and I will dip the donut and I will test that theory. I'm not willing to test beef stock with my Lucky Charms, but I am willing to try to dunk a donut. I mean Dunkin' Donuts, right? But that's with coffee. But I'm willing to dunk a donut into milk.
Did you? Oh, I've done that a million times. Do you? I don't
Into
know if you've
milk?
ever done this. When we were growing up, parents didn't have a whole lot of money. There was four of us. We were all in school, and so they had to come up with like just cheap, easy breakfast ideas. And one that my dad used to make is he would make a big pot of hot chocolate and then a bunch of toast. So just you toast and butter, and we would dip the toast in hot chocolate. Haven't done it in years, but like I think about that all the time,
Wait,
and
no
it
way.
was so good.
See, okay, Darnay, these are things I love. I talked about it on the podcast the other day. My mom used to do pancakes and we would put butter and sugar, just granulated sugar on top of it
Mm.
because it's what we had. And so, and it spiced it up. And I think she thought she was really hooking Aaron and I up with a sweet treat. And to us, it was amazing, right? Because we didn't know any better. And then I bring it up to some people and they're like, what are you talking about? No one's ever done that. And I was like, that's all I did as a kid, but it's great. And I've tried it again as an adult and it's still great. This is another one of those things because I guarantee you, toast and hot chocolate tastes awesome. It's just a weird thing to
Yeah.
think about. And you're thinking, well, why would I do that when I could make, a fancy breakfast of eggs and sausage and stuff? Yeah, but this is a good one to throw into the rotation. I'm sure my daughter will go bananas for it.
And I don't know about you, I've really struggled with breakfast because I just don't have the energy or desire to make a bunch of scrambled eggs, make bacon every morning, this or that. And then you got to clean up. I just kind of want something simple in the morning. And I got away from cereal for a while, but then I realized like really this is just like the best easiest option for me. It takes no time in preparation, very little cleaning, and I'm not doing like the Lucky Charms and the Golden Grams as much. I'm trying to like have adult cereals like Ryan reference, and they're boring,
Yeah,
and
they
and
are.
sometimes I don't want to eat them, but it's like that or like Greek yogurt and a banana, this or that. But it's really breakfast is a struggle for me because it's the most important meal of the day. You want
Hmm.
something to kind of get you going,
Yep.
but do you feel like, cooking a full meal at 9 a.m.? I don't
No,
always feel like that.
you and we're very similar in that. Now we're going to differ later in the day because you are going to spend 4 hours cooking the smallest piece of whatever to put on a plate and put some sprinkle on it, some drizzle, and make it look at this amazing thing. And I'm like, you can eat that with one bite, and you're like, yeah, and it's gonna be the best bite.
Don't forget the microgreens. You put the
Yeah,
microgreens on
whatever it
top.
is.
It's like the last touch.
I will say you're good at that, but you're also a good bartender, so it equals out. It evens out because I can rip you for the food stuff, even though it's great, but I can't rip you for the fact you make just a mean beverage.
After a couple drinks, you don't really care about what you ate anymore.
Doesn't matter. Okay, I want to finish with this because I haven't told you this yet, and I'm excited. I've been out on baseball for a very long time. I just
Oh,
I'm a Mariners fan, right? And so I've been out on baseball for a long time. I am all in on Friar Pod. I'm all in on your pod, and I thought, well, here's the deal. I love Darnay. I love listening to your podcast. I know nothing about baseball. Why don't I just become a Padres fan? And Fernando Tatis, that's your guy, right?
hmm.
He's going to be on the cover of my favorite video game series this year, MLB The Show. So I
Is
just
that
thought,
your favorite video game?
oh yeah, that's my favorite video game series
I know
is
that.
MLB The Show. It's the best. So I'm going all in on Padres. I think I'm going to go all in on Padres because I can hear you talk about them, so then I can get my base knowledge of what's going on. Obviously, when that game comes out, I'll play some of my games as the Padres, so I can learn the
Hmm.
players. That's how I did with Madden to learn football when I was young. It's like this is how I learned who players were. It was from Madden. And so then I think I'm going to go all Padres, which also then leads to if they open up games at any point this year, like later in the summer or anything, Ann and I will have to come down and go to Padres game because I
Yes, you
want to
will.
go full send Padres because of your dumb podcast, which also seems to be huge. Like this is the other weird thing. It's Darnay's dumb podcast, which apparently everyone and their mother listens to.
I don't know if it's that huge. It seems like Padres fans have gotten into it, and that's been fun to kind of build a bit of an audience. We've had some good guests, which has been really fun the last year, especially when there was no baseball being played. It's like got to talk to somebody to kind of get through these months. So no, it's been a cool experience and the perfect time to cover the team because they're the most exciting team in baseball. They have the most exciting player and the best young player in baseball. You would like Fernando Tatis Jr. Like the Fernando Tatis, the form of Tatis in any league, NFL. Like who's the Tatis of the NFL? Like who's the most exciting young? I guess it would be
Mahomes.
Patrick
Yeah.
Mahomes, right? Um, Steph Curry, those types of guys. Like you like all those guys. You're
Yeah.
drawn to them. They play the game differently. There's an excitement level, bravado. Um, and also he's just really, really likable, inevitably Dodger fans and teams that run into them in the playoffs are going to feel some sort of way, but they're also one of those guys who are like, when you watch Mahomes, there's nothing about him that you can be like, I hate that guy. Like
Yeah.
he cares the way he cares himself. There's nothing really there. And Tatis is kind of the same way. He just has fun and he expresses himself. He's not afraid to do a bat flip and
I
show his
love that.
excitement.
I love that.
Yeah, and the game needs it. The game needs his personality, that needs his flair, and it seems like baseball and people around the game have really embraced it, which has been really cool. So they're a super exciting team, really, really good. They've just kind of loaded up their roster, and I mean, I don't know, like for you, somebody who's casually followed baseball through the years, when you thought about the Padres, from a distance, me growing up in Philly and moving around, and you being a Giants fan in
Yeah.
Venezuela,
I got my
and
Giants somewhere in back here. There's a Giants blanket on my couch because I do love the Giants still, which makes this really hard transition for me. But I crave baseball. I want to be back into it, and you're going to be my re-entry into baseball.
Padres are the team, man. Padres are the team, and
I do think they were terrible. But yeah, when we were younger, they were terrible. I just think Tony Gwynn and not winning.
Tony Gwynn, Trevor Hoffman, yeah, exactly. Occasionally, like a surprisingly good team. Ken Caminiti,
Yeah,
You know,
there you go.
guy hit a ton of bombs. But they didn't really have an identity. And so now all of a sudden they got new uniforms, they get Machado,
Yeah.
they've got this young guy that's super exciting, and then they're just buying up every big name free agent player on the trade market, and they're stacked. So they're going to be a lot of fun to watch.
Okay, finish with this, and then I gotta go. But I don't have to go. You probably have to go because it's like 12.
I got nowhere to be.
Okay, well then I finish with this. I finish with this because I saw your shirt. It's one of my favorite shirts. The shirt you're wearing was at Peaceful Valley many a time. You and I many an argument because you were wearing, not because of that shirt, just because we like to fight in basketball. Your Sixers are the best team in basketball right now, Tripp. Are you? Well, the Jazz are the best record in basketball, but the Sixers' best record in the East. Are they legit? Are you excited right now? Because the season's pretty deep into it. It's almost halfway done, and they're still at the top of the standings.
I think I'm always kind of like cautious about my enthusiasm with this team because they've had some really good runs in past regular seasons. A few years ago, they had the long winning streak that got them, that they carried into the postseason. It's just been kind of, because the game changes once you get into the playoffs, right?
Yes.
It slows down, and sometimes it can be hard when you're driven by a big guy in, you know, putting yourself in position to get points one possession to the next when the game slows down. And because they've done so much in transition. Ben Simmons, great in transition, hasn't been all that great when the game slows down in the half court.
What happens there?
So what happens with him having a new coach obviously helps a guy that's been really experienced. But I mean, I do think it's real in that they constructed a roster around these guys that is better suited to maximize their talent and their potential and works to their strengths. And so I just saw something. Seth Curry he's on pace to have the first 50-50-90 season in NBA history. 50% from the field, 50% from three, 90% from the free throw line.
Man.
So he's been incredible. Danny Green, 3 and D guy. I mean, his shot kind of comes and goes here and there, but you know, with the some of the young talent that they have, it's just a good, exciting mix. And I think that this is what they needed so bad. After the last couple of years, there was just nothing to really get excited about, especially last season. They were clunky. Yeah. They weren't fun to watch. You could tell they weren't going to be very good. Now, I mean, we'll see what happens in the playoffs, but they just seem way more suited to play well. Once you get to the postseason, the game kind of changes a little bit.
Because wasn't it, did the Heat spank you guys last year in the playoffs? Was that what it was?
Yeah, we got swept by the Celtics last year.
Oh, Celtics last year. Okay, geez. Well, here's the problem. Like, I look back at NBA champions, and I'm trying to find the last team that won whose best player was their big guy. And like, because you had mentioned that that's hard to do, and I'm struggling to do it because 2014 was the Spurs, and Tim Duncan is on that team, but that's older Tim Duncan, where I'm not sure.
And Kawhi was Finals MVP that year.
Yeah, that was a Kawhi. That was one of the Kawhi years where and it's hard for me not to say Tim Duncan's the best player on the team, but I don't think he was the best player on the team that year. I think it's Kawhi. Kawhi's a freak. So I look back further than that, and it's like, I mean, where am I going? Pistons, Lakers. I mean, obviously the Shaq Lakers are in there, but that's early 2000s. You just don't win the NBA Finals with your best player as a big guy. But dude, I think that you guys could do it. I think Embiid's the one to break the spell. If there's a big guy to do it because of how he plays, which makes me excited.
He's such a difference maker defensively, and so is Simmons, even when he's not giving you much offensively. And I think he's gotten better. So much of it's going to come down to how does he handle the extra attention that he's going to get, because that's an area where he struggled. Is the double comes, he turns it over, doesn't know what to do, kind of gets himself in a weird spot. Now he's got shooters to get the ball to. It seems like he's gotten better from that standpoint, making quick decisions and get the ball out to the guy, the open guy. And so we'll see. It's just nice. I mean, you know how it is when you have a team, maybe the Seahawks, you have a couple years where you feel like it's like the same collection of guys and they're not going anywhere. You feel like your ceiling's in a certain place. At least this year, they kind of shook things up a little bit. It's worked to this point, and you feel like, okay, we might actually have a chance. Whereas last year, I mean, there was no real hope.
I guess I could say Anthony Davis would be a big guy who won a championship recently, but I don't know that he's better than LeBron. I don't think he's the best player on the team. Do you think was AD better on the team last year than LeBron?
No, I don't think so.
I
I
mean,
mean,
'cause
LeBron makes that go, and especially in terms of just controlling the game, LeBron controls the
yeah,
flow of the game.
Embiid's your guy. Embiid controls the. Okay, so then the two big guys. There's two big guys I think who are set to potentially break that spell of being the best guy on the team and win it all this year, and that would be Embiid and Ncaa. So those would be the two. So in the
I kept
Blazers,
waiting for Jokic to come out of your mouth, and the sound the name sounded different, and I didn't. It took me a
yeah,
second to
Sanis.
process that.
So Cantor, Joel Embiid, the two guys that are out there in the league this year who could potentially win it from a big man spot and break a streak.
I would love to see you guys get healthy and go on a run.
It'd be fun. It'd be really fun. They just can't. I mean, CJ has to play. The Blazers are winning right now. They won last night. I still don't know how they're winning some of these games. Like beating you guys last week was the weirdest win of the season. And it's like, what happened? You guys didn't have Ben Simmons, and you had so many turnovers that it looked like Peaceful Valley. But it's still kind of like, how did the Blazers just win? I guess we just wait. I just woke up the next day and thought, okay, well, it was real. It wasn't a dream. We beat the Sixers. That's lucky because you guys would crush us normally.
We're pretty good.
Normal.
Hey, can I ask you a question related to this T-shirt?
Yeah, hit me.
Did you watch Ted Lasso?
It was my favorite show of last year.
Okay, so my parents were just in town and they hadn't seen it. They don't have Apple Plus or TV or whatever it's called.
Thanks for sharing your
and
password.
So we were with them for 4 days. I mean, I think we blew through that show in like 3 days. So we're like, okay, this will be a breeze. So we watched it again, and we got to the part where they're trying to exorcise the demons of the training room because the one dude got injured.
Yes.
And so everybody takes something that's really important and valuable to them and throws it into the trash bin. They're going to set it on fire. And so the first time I had watched, I hadn't really thought about this. This time I was like, what would I put into the trash bin? And the first thing I thought about was this T-shirt. Like this, I've had it for a long time.
Yeah.
There's no replacing it. It means a lot to me. And so that's like the first thing that came to mind. So I asked Laura, I'm like, Laura, what would you put in the bin? Without a moment's hesitation, she says Miles. Miles is our dog. I think she was kidding.
Okay, I'll ask Anna when I'm done with this because she might say Jovi.
Yeah.
And that's over our child. Like if the
I hope she doesn't put Olivia in there.
If our child was an option, right? If Olivia was in play as this sort of, now we're getting very biblically, it's now become a biblical sacrifice. She would still choose Jovi. She would choose Jovi over me.
It's concerning on a couple of fronts. One, setting an animal on fire. There's that part of it. But then there's just like the amount of love. Like, this is the most important thing. Her most prized possession is this dog. I mean, I knew that, I mean, who am I kidding? But still, that really kind of hammered it home. What would you do? I was thinking about this with you because you have a lot of stuff. You have all like the work related stuff. You've got all your podcasting audio gear.
Yeah.
You got tons of great. I mean, your last place in Brown's Edition, it was like a museum. Like every shelf had all these cool pictures, memorabilia, banners. You got lots of jerseys and posters. You have the PS5, like all your gaming stuff.
It'd probably be some old video game stuff, right? Some prized possessions, some old video game stuff. I have an autographed. This is so dumb. I have an autographed Carson Palmer copy of NCAA football. What is that? 2004 or 2002. And I got it autographed when he came through town for something. And I was like, well, you have to sign this. He was at the radio station and I was supposed to be professional, but it didn't matter. And I had him sign it. And it's like one of my most prized possessions. So that's probably awesome. Be it. That's a great question. And I need to come up with a better answer for that because Laura going knee-jerk reaction with your dog is about as fantastic as it gets. See, I have an old Seahawks t-shirt that is from 96 that I still have. But it's not like your Iverson shirt. I don't have the love for it like that, and I don't have the love for it.
I feel like you have so much Blazers stuff just around your place.
I have an autographed Lillard thing. I've got an autographed B. Roy thing. I got a lot of weird. I don't have a lot of like autographed stuff, but apparently the 3 autographed things that I have, I would throw into a fire.
Yeah.
To exercise, or what is it? Exercise the demons. What are they doing in that? What are they doing in that? What do they call it? I don't even remember. Ted Lasso. That's a fantastic question to ask, and I'm going to go do that with all my buddies tonight because that's going to be the new text thread. What is everyone throwing in the fire? Okay, Tripp, you're the best. Let's do it again sometime. I'm sorry I took so much of your day, And what do you cover? Like, are you going to be at a golf course this week while we're freezing up here in Spokane?
Oh, I wish that was so much fun. No, I think I'm. What am I doing
Like,
tonight?
brag
The
about
Aztecs
being
are playing
outside
at
in the
home.
just brag about being outside in the heat.
Oh man, let me tell you, it's a little cloudy today, a little dreary. It's not that nice. It's probably only like, let me check the temperature for you,
Okay.
just to see what
Because you
it's
can see
like. It's
my
probably
window
only like
looks sunny. My window looks really
60.
sunny.
It's only 61, kind of cloudy today.
It's
50% chance of rain on Friday. So we're struggling right now, but it's looking like 68 and sunny next week. So uh, keep us in your thoughts. Hopefully we'll get through this stretch.
You see my window, very sunny, beautiful. The skies are nothing but blue. You know those Spokane blue skies? It's beautiful.
But that's a dangerous sign
It's
though.
30
You
degrees.
just, yeah.
On its way to 19 tomorrow.
Mm.
So that's wonderful. All right, Tripp, you're the best. Tell your wife hello, and I'll talk to you later, man.
Always a blast. Thanks, man.
See you, dude. Okay, so there's Darnay, and I love him. I do not like my answer for his Ted Lasso question at all. But I wasn't ready for it, Darnay. I'm sorry, my friend. I wasn't ready for it. I mean, my answer's okay because the things I mentioned are possessions I like, but not nearly top possessions. I think sentimentally, the thing I own in my life that there's a couple, but I think the thing that I own that now that I thought about it that I love is a book that I have. It's a book that I have that starting in 5th or 6th grade down in Venezuela, I read every year through high school. I read it in college once a year. It's a kid's book, so it was easy. It's an easy read. It's called Basket Fever. And I have that book from Venezuela. When we left Venezuela, I stole the book from our school library and brought it back to the States with me. Sorry, Miss Kuhn, the librarian. But I did. And I've had that book ever since, and I've read it a ton. And it is special to me because it's a book about basketball, something that as a kid I loved. It was my motivation through being a little kid and into high school for loving the sport. And as cheesy as that is, that it's a kid's book, it's really valuable to me. And the fact that it's super old, and I've read this same book since 1995, 1996, 1994. Since I've read it many, many times since then, it's a cool thing for me. So that would be my actual answer because watching that burn in the Ted Lasso fire would hurt. But again, you're trying to get rid of the demons in the team. You're trying to get that thing fixed. If you haven't seen Ted Lasso, go watch it. Okay, there's stuff I want to get to, and I think I'm going to just have to wait till tomorrow to do it. Morgan Wallen made an apology for his racial slur. He released a video yesterday, and man, do I talk about it now? Because I just watched it this morning for the first time. I don't even know how I feel about it. I mean, I guess I feel confused about it because I love Morgan Wallen. I love that he made an apology. I love that he made a statement, but man, I'm still bummed by him. I'm still really bummed out about him. And I'm still not all the way excited to see him back this quickly in the news on the video. I do like at the end of his apology, he does mention like that kind of feeling where he's like, "Look, this is don't come storming for me." I don't know his exact words because I've watched the video once, but it sounded almost like don't come full support for me and blow this up and blow me up as this great guy who's come back. Like he needs to deal with his stuff. He talks about his apology about his struggle with alcohol and how he's been sober for 9 days. I think that you've seen that over a streak of time with him that's been a problem. So I don't know. I saw the video and my instant reaction today, I don't really want this podcast to be much longer because it's already really long. My instant reaction is that I'm happy that he made a statement, but I'm also like, there's that bad part of me where I'm like, of course you made a statement. You need to make a statement. And I just really hope it's genuine. I hope that it's coming from the right place. I hope that the right moves are made. It's just a really hard one because true colors were shown on that video. And it's just hard. It's hard. It's hard because we also always want to cheer for people. I want to cheer for people. Of course, I want Morgan Wallen to, pull through this and be like, look, that was a dumb move and make change for the better. I just, everything is still so fresh about him. And so I don't even know how to react to the video. I am glad that he released a statement. I do love, before all this stuff, Morgan Wallen was like my favorite country music artist. And I've had to take a step back from that because I'm not going to support someone who's throwing throwing racial slurs around. I'm never going to do that. Anyways, Morgan Wallen has a video out. I guess my thing to you would be go watch it. Go watch it. 5 minutes of your day, and he's got his apology video. And I'm excited for the discussion around it because I want to see where this goes. I want to see where this story goes because I'm really hoping that it goes to nothing but good. I worry a lot about this going badly. I worry a lot about the people who weren't offended by Morgan Wallen somehow rising up and making everything a lighthearted matter. I worry about that so much because that bums me out. The other country music news today, Taylor Swift is just all over. What is going on? She had 2 albums last year. Well, an album last summer and then the album to kick off the year, the sister albums, Folklore and Evermore. And now she announced this morning she's remastering, she's redoing all of her first albums because there was a lot of issues with her first albums. She doesn't have the rights to them. There's a Scooter Braun story. Anyways, she is re-recording these albums, and she announced today she's done with Fearless. They're called Taylor's versions. So she re-recorded Fearless, Taylor's version of Love Story, which is one of the best songs ever, and top 3, top 2 Taylor song for me. I loved that song. That comes out tonight. That comes out Thursday night, probably 9 p.m., the midnight release on the East Coast, 9 p.m. our time on the West Coast. And it's 26 songs, 6 never-released songs on this album that's going to come back out soon, the Fearless Taylor's version. The whole album doesn't come out tonight, just the Love Story song. But she's got these re-recordings coming out, and there may be more announcements too. I don't even know. The girl took quarantine more seriously than anyone in the world to advance her craft. It's unbelievable what she did. 2 albums, remastering songs like Taylor Swift. Congratulations on being a workaholic. I love it. And for a girl who really could just be done. A girl who has so much money, she doesn't need to make another thing in her life. She could just ride off in the sunset. But I think you see good work ethic and things like this. Okay, this has been a long podcast. If you made it all the way to right now, thank you. My Twitter handle is at Sean T. Widmer. My Instagram is at Sean T. Widmer. Go ahead and hit me up. If you had any, I love the comments. I've been getting some fun comments on people reacting to comments in the podcast. Like Tyler, love you. TRX12, he always hits me up with something about the pod that it's always something he disagrees with, which I love. And I love those conversations. So hit me up at Sean T. Widmer, Instagram at Sean T. Widmer, Twitter. Have a great one, everybody, and I'll talk to you tomorrow.